Hey everyone, Ensign Nizaki here, and I am very sorry for being away for so long and also deleting the stop motion videos, but that happened due to copyright issues. But I'm here now and I wanted to talk to you guys about a very irritating topic that I know a lot of you fans have issues with, and that's Mula Flaga's survival and return in Gundam Seed Destiny. We all saw the Lohengrin hit his Gundam, the Strike Gundam, and it disintegrated completely. And regardless of the retcon, we saw the helmet floating in space. But neither here or there, I have a few theories that may actually fit better than the explanation that we got in Gundam Seed Destiny. So sit back, relax, and let's discuss it. So, in order, we see in the final battle that the Dominion fired its positron cannon at the Archangel, and Mu flies in front of it with his Gundam, shield outstretched and everything, defending the ship. And he says his famous catchphrase, "I can make the impossible possible." After that split second, we see the Gundam explode, smoke, and everything. After that, we get a shot of his helmet with the glass broken, floating through space, which very much so solidified that Mu Laflaga had died. And there was no possible way that this man was coming back from that. And we even can confirm his death due to Maru Ramius's reaction to everything. We completely see this Gundam get disintegrated, but apparently he survives due to the Gundam taking the brunt of the blast and flinging him out into space with severe injuries and amnesia. He's picked up by the Earth Alliance-backed group Logos, who backs Phantom Pain, and they take him in, heal his body. Basically, they couldn't let his potential go to waste, so they brainwashed him to become Neo Roanoke, who appears in Gundam Seed Destiny. And of course, we all know that debacle where his character is a main villain up until he's not, and then he gets his memory back bit by bit, which also boots another fan favorite character, Andrew Waltfeld, out of the relationship with Maru Ramius, which I personally don't like because it makes the man feel like a third wheel and it was forced in a way. But here is where I come into play with my theories on how Mu actually survived. So let's get into it. So I want to get into my lesser believable theory first, and it's pretty simple, but it's a little closer to the original canon theory of how he survived. So if we go with the edit where his helmet is shown floating in space, my theory was his body got flung out into space, or he ejected while everyone was paying attention to the beam. The light of the beam was blinding everyone as well, and he had ejected himself from the Gundam. He had a secondary helmet within the cockpit of his mobile suit, or Gundam rather, and that is the helmet that we are seeing floating through space. Now, granted, he still did get thrown deep out into space by the blast and concussion of the positron cannon, or the Lohengrin rather, and its concussive wave, which still injured him, caused him to have amnesia, and left him for dead, which leaves the Earth Alliance to come into play. Now, that for me is a less believable theory, because the heat of the Lohengrin's blast would have definitely disintegrated him if he wasn't there to I guess keep the Gundam in place. And even if he was able to get out of the Gundam, it's kind of like the movie Sunshine, when the captain of the ship got caught in the sun waves after they were trying to basically fix the panels on Icarus 2. Now, that's just a different theory. But if you want to go with that one, then sure, why not? But let's go into the second theory that I have, because this one is far more believable and I think makes way more sense canon-wise. So, if you're going off of the release order of the episodes, in the original it's Phase 45, the open door, but in the digital remaster it's Phase 43. But this is where the origins of how Mu Laflaga survived begins, or let's say was born. So all of this takes place in the abandoned Mendel colony, which was also where the first coordinators were created, specifically Kira Yamato, but we'll get back to that in a second. So in this episode, a lot of stuff is happening. Mu and Kira are chasing Raul Crusade through this entire facility, which they realize they're seeing the artificial wombs, cloning pods, and a whole lot of scientific equipment that hadn't been used for years. And as the fight is going on, Raul Crusade starts dropping bombs on both Kira and Mu. Specifically, he starts off with Kira, I believe, and he tells Kira that this is where the ultimate coordinator was born and the first successful coordinator who changed humanity, which was Kira Yamato. And this is how basically Kira Jesus Yamato was created, and explains a lot of his almost unexplainable backstory. But both of his parents were scientists, which they are the reason of his birth. And then Rao drops another truth bomb on Mu Laflaga, which he says, well, after taking his mask off, that both he and Mu are linked together through their, I don't want to call it telepathic abilities. It's similar to, I think you would call it their spatial awareness, but basically they share DNA, and basically Rao is a clone of Mu Laflaga's father. So basically Mu Laflaga's father, Al Deflaga, used his DNA to make the cloned Raul Crusade, who ended up being a failed experiment and suffered from rapid aging and basically a disease that caused him severe pain. And because of this, he sought to destroy both coordinators and naturals alike, because he felt like they created him. And it's like, when you create a monster, you can't control that monster. But going back to Mu Laflaga, Mu also has DNA inside of that lab. The Laflaga family basically has DNA all in that lab. And this is where my theory comes into play. During the shootout, you know, Kira and Raul basically leave the place after the explosions and things like that. And my theory is that Mu Laflaga got caught in one of the explosions, knocked unconscious, which caused him to lose his memory, and he got hurt by falling debris. Shortly after, the Earth Alliance snuck in this area, in this base, in this laboratory, and recovered his body, and then put him in the Phantom Pain program, which turned him into Neo Roanoke. Now, who is the Mu Laflaga that we saw in the Gundam? It's kind of weird, but the order of this, and I know I'm explaining this in weird order, but the Mu Laflaga that we saw in the Gundam was a clone. And because he had such a spatial awareness link with his real counterpart and with Raul Crusade, he shared a mental link, which made him think that he was the real Mu Laflaga, which also made him say the famous catchphrase, I told you I could make the impossible possible, and instinctively saving everyone in the Archangel. So yes, if we go based off of the version where the helmet is still floating in space, then yes, by way of clone, Mulaflaga died, and the real Mulaflaga was kept in stasis and brainwashed by Phantom Pain to become Neo Roanoke. Now, that is my theory that I want to lean towards because it makes more sense because we have physical proof that cloning was a thing, and Mulaflaga's DNA and his father's DNA, family DNA as a whole, has been used in these experiments. And you can't deny the cloning possibility because Rala Crusade is an actual autonomous being that has been walking around for ages. Well, not that long, but you basically get the gist of what I'm saying. Now, to do a speed run, the inverse of this, if you go with the version where they edited the helmet out of it, Moose simply just got thrown out of the Gundam before it completely got destroyed, and his helmet was still on his head. But if we go back to the version where the helmet was floating in space, the real Mulaflaga is dead, and the version that we see in Gundam Seed Destiny that goes as Neo Roanoke is a clone that had not completely gained all of the memories of the real Mulaflaga. So realistically, Maru Ramius was talking to a clone who only could rehash his memories by meeting someone that could spark it through a emotional bond and connection, which I don't really like that theory as much because it just sucks because it's like filling an empty hole with dirt that really doesn't fill the hole, or basically trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in it. And I prefer the theory that Mugat found a clone of himself, sent it out to protect everyone in the Archangel, and he got left behind in the explosions of the lab. So that is the theory that I would love to lean towards, and I know a lot of people may not agree with that, but that had always been on my mind, and I really wanted to get that out there and hear what you guys thought. But realistically, we also know the true reason behind his return is that the fandom really loved the character, and the producers and executives at Sunrise who loved the character wanted his return, wanted Mu to return to the franchise, and or series rather. And I completely understand that because he put so much heart and emotion into the show where there were certain characters who you cared about, but anytime Mu came on screen, you felt a sense of calm, you felt like things were okay, and everything was going to be alright, despite how dangerous and how absurd a lot of the situations the Archangel crew were in. And they were in over their heads for a lot of stuff, especially with a lot of their crew members being civilians primarily up until they were made official soldiers. But like I said, that one theory for me sticks, where Mu sent the clone out and he stayed behind but got knocked unconscious during the explosions, and the Earth Alliance came and took his body and did all the experimentations. But like I said, guys, leave a comment, tell me what you think about this theory, and let's have a fun discussion. I know I've been gone for a long time, and I'll try to make videos, but like I said, I've been dealing with that copyright issue, and also I recently had an eye surgery, so hopefully I can get back into doing stop motion, and if not, then I will do these retrospective videos. I'll do top 5s, top 10s, and things like that, and have fan discussions with you guys. And also I want to cover other anime content in the future, depending on how well this channel does. And even if it doesn't do well, it's still something I love because I'm doing this stuff for the passion. So thanks again for watching. If you're an Instant Nozaki fan, I appreciate you. And leave a comment on what you would like me to cover, whether it's Gundam, other mecha anime like Blue Gender, which I love that show, Zoids, and even things like Hunter x Hunter, Dragon Ball Z, all kinds of other anime. I'll try to cover and do research on it, reading, listening wise, and do my best to cover it without my eyesight. But thanks again for watching. Ensign Nazaki out.